And then anybody, that doesn't want to be recorded, feel free to turn your cameras off. Thank you.
That's the first time I've ever done that. But usually someone else is in charge of doing recording. So just because we started recording, my name is Master Raven Main I'm a Laurel from the Kingdom of Baseball, and I'm teaching the journey, defining your SCA journey. Basically, I've changed the title so many times. Sometimes I don't even know what it is. But we're gonna go. I'll go through the slideshow. Hopefully, something in here will resonate with you, help you in some way. So I have defined this also as, if anybody's familiar with it, shotgun teaching is one of the phrases. They use different phrases for this. And basically, there's going to be a lot of information I'm going to talk about, and things and points that I'm going to bring out. So hopefully something in there you may disagree with, and that's okay. But it's just, like I said, a lot of things that are going to be in here. I was just reminded, or just told recently, after a student that went to my last time I taught this, that if you ever heard of peer-like qualities, a lot of these things peers consider peer-like qualities. So hopefully some of that will kind of help you if someone brings that up one way, you'd be like, what is that? This is not all of those peer-like qualities. Some of them that I'm going to be mentioning today will be peer-like qualities. So let me share my screen. You'll have to tell me, make sure that I'm viewing it correctly. Because I also started trying to, I have 2 monitors now, so it's supposed to be helping me out. So.
It should let you pick which one you want to share.
I just have to double check you and make sure that it is correct. So is there 2 screens or 1 big screen?
It's 2 screens, it looks like.
Yeah, I think
well, it's showing your slides, and then it's showing the next slide.
Okay. Okay. None of them are green.
Screen.
There you go.
Is that good? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Defining your personal SCA journey. Yeah, I had, like I mentioned before, I changed the title a couple of times because I was just never happy with it. So I'm still not happy with it. But I change this as I go. The link that I put in the chat is a Google Doc. So if you go back to it later on, or if you ever go into it, just read it. I'm going to, as I update it, it will also update. So as I change it, it'll update to something better eventually. But that's 9/23 is the last time I updated everything. Okay. And here, this is this class that I mentioned. The reason why I wrote this is to try and give you a better put how you get from where you started in the SCA forward, to keep track of things, to focus not necessarily on the goal as much as you should be the journey, and kind of thinking about everything that you're doing now, so that way once you do hopefully one day you accomplish those goals, you can look back and go, well, I know what I did, and it's going to be a lot, but I don't think none of us that have at least as peers that I've talked to can really define what it was that got them to that point. But at least you know the journey, you know what you did, And if you ever have a student or if you're ever talking to somebody, you go, these are the things that I did, and you have a better idea of your journey. So if you just started, you start playing, there's, and you start participating and you learn about leadership and hopefully, maybe if peerage is one of your goals, you go kind of, that's kind of the where, how things, briefly kind of go if that's in the SCA. But no matter what you do, enjoy your time in the SCA. So the two major things that I think are really important above all else is to have fun. So when you're in the SCA, no matter what you're doing or how you're doing it, make sure you're having fun, because that's going to keep you from getting into pitfalls, approaching maybe some kind of burnout if you're doing too much. It's always to do things, concentrate on being happy first. And then, hopefully as you work on your goals, it'll be a lot easier. The second thing that I'll get to and farther down the clips is to make as many friends as possible. The more friendly you are, the more nice you are, the more people that you get to know. When you actually start having specific goals like, fighting in tournaments or running events, it'll be a lot easier when you know and you're friendly with a lot of the people that you run into in the SCA.
Hey, I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you again just for 1 second? I was just informed that there are people in the waiting room
Okay.
waiting to get in. Do you want to just make me a co-host and I can watch that for you?
Yeah, I can try and do that.
You should just be able to go to participants and then go to my name and make me a co-host.
Unless your participants can click on that.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
Katrina Giovanni?
Yep, that's me.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
There we go. Yeah, I'm still trying to get used to the two monitors. I just realizing now that the other monitors needs to be moved. A lot of things that I'm going to go over today also in this class are a lot of things that could be translated easily, or things you might hear heard outside of the SCA. So they're kind of, a lot of them you're going to see that are just general things. One of the things is just for the job you want. So when you're in the SCA, a lot of times especially my wife, she makes clothes for the SCA. She's been doing it almost since the time she started the SCA. So clothes are obviously important. And over the years, I've realized how important it actually is. If you see someone who is, doesn't look like they really care too much about their clothes, unfortunately, you're going to assume a lot of things. And you don't really, if you can prevent that from someone doing that to you, the best thing to do is, I'm not saying, dress like the king, or anything like that, or dress, like super fancy. Well, maybe for court, but just if you're thinking about being, up here, or you wanted to just be, you want people to look at you and realize that you are serious about the SCA, and maybe that you're very interested and you're part of the group and everything else. So just trying to up your garb a little bit more might be just something to consider. Treat people like you want to be treated, like in and out of the SCA. Every time you go to an event, every time you go to any kind of meeting in the SCA, it's good to have that kind of mantra, I guess, before you do anything, and that is to
So here,
Yeah.
and that is
you can still see the.
to have that in your mind, so that way when you show up at an event or do whatever, how would you want to be treated when you get to an event? So I'll kind of post this later, but it'll make sense when I talk about it. And that just show up to be happy, to show up with a positive outlook, a positive thought. No matter where you go initially, just show up and realize that let everybody know that you're happy to be there. And if you smile and you're in or grin at least, people automatically will start talking to you and including you on stuff. If you're, I don't know, a lot of people don't keep this in mind, but if you see someone who looks angry or sad or whatever, you may ask what's wrong, but most of the time you're not gonna, you're gonna unfortunately maybe go around them by instinct alone. So it's always try and be treat everybody. Act like a peer is just something that I use in general when it comes to uh, looking for qualities in peers or people in general that people want to emulate. People look, are drawn to those people because they have some sort of quality, whether it's just being able to take charge or lead, on a moment's notice, or help out, always wanting to help, um, everywhere, or always wanting to be, make things happen and make things better for everybody. Um, wanting to have tournaments, wanting to run events, very interested in all the arts, those kind of things uh, that you kind of look for people who have maybe accomplished and they became a peer or not. There's people who are not peers that I'll get to later.
Raven,
Yeah.
You still don't have a co-host, and I have 2 people from my shire trying to get in. It looks like she dropped out of the Zoom. So if you want to go ahead and make me co-host, I'll help you out, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I didn't know if she just turned off the camera. It should be. There she is. There you go. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for coming. But I'll teach this. I'll teach this again. So, like I said, I'll fix it and hopefully even better next time. I've taught this class at least 5 times in the past 6 months. So, I've also had a Kingdom ask for this to be on their Kingdom website, which is interesting. Anyway, I get it though. There we go. How do you know when you or someone else are on the right road? So this is more, when I wrote this, is generally for those that are, have a peerage in mind that they would like to eventually be. There are 2 things. One of them is when you're mistaken for a peer. When people already think that you are one or someone is one. I don't know, not everybody runs into that stuff, that kind of a thing, but I've run into that a lot where someone already thought they were, and they were treated like that until they found out they weren't, and then it's kind of like what's going on. But that's when you already have the qualities and you're already doing things. Most of the time, these kind of individuals are already, they're happy, they're doing stuff, they're just enjoying being in the SCA, and they just happen to have a lot of the qualities that you automatically see. That's kind of generally in the peer realm. The other thing is that unfortunately, what you might hear is someone will, you'll ask somebody for advice on what to do, and sometimes you'll hear, keep doing what you're doing, or something similar. There are 2 reasons for that. One is that that's all you can say because you're not 100% sure. You think that person is already going in the right direction. The other thing is sometimes you don't want to alter someone's path. So you might suggest something that might shift them in the wrong direction, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to take that chance. So you're just, unfortunately, that phrase or that response is sometimes the only thing people can say. So it is frustrating, but most of the time that after I've gone back and talked to them about people that have said that to me, it's because they think I'm already on the way, and you know, they think I'm fine and just want me to keep doing what I'm doing, literally, and they didn't want to mess with it. So make friends and be nice. So every time you can, just be generally nice to everybody. First, like first impressions, which I'll get to later too, is just just be generally nice to even if someone rubs you the wrong way, just be generally nice. Just kind of go with the flow. The one thing about being nice that has come in handy over the years is that just being, being nice just generally makes you happy, usually. But also does a thing that I have coined for myself, the phrase of volunteer points. And what that means is if you're doing, say you're running an event or you're doing a tournament or whatever you're doing, if you help out enough, if you help someone enough, eventually when you become in charge or when you have a chance to be a leader and do something, you can kind of call in these favors, and it's almost unsaid kind of a thing where someone has noticed all the work that you've been doing, all the giving you've been giving, all the giving have been doing, and don't want to help you. So if you're just generally nice to a lot of people, this also comes in handy when you're maybe in a tight spot and event and maybe in court and someone needs something. If you have enough people you've just been generally nice to, you can usually just pick someone out of that crowd and ask them for a favor if they can go help you with something or whatever else. Generally, all the SCA people should be like that. But if you're nice to everybody rather than mean to everybody, you'll get your things will go a lot easier for you. The next one on here is being cognitive of your reputation. I've been trying over the years to try and best explain this as much as possible. It's not something that you should stress over. It's just something that you should just, like it says, be cognizant of. So if you have friends out there who are talking to a lot of different people on many different levels in the SCA, on officers or just general events or whatever, hopefully they'll tell you that someone saw you once on your bad day, unfortunately, or whatever, and took something you said the wrong way. It's not like I'm suggesting you go over and try and fix it, but just know that somebody caught something you said, and next time that happens, maybe try not to do that kind of a thing. But just keep an idea of that maybe something that maybe you should work on if you are very blunt with a lot of individuals, or just to try and figure out what it was that you did, or on accident, hopefully, and just be kind of have that in mind to try and keep yourself from kind of doing those kind of things. I always am in the aspect not to turn anyone away. If you are in charge, no matter what you're doing, whether it's putting up a pavilion or you're an officer or whatever, whatever kind of fighting tournament, whatever it is, asking to help is putting yourself out there. So, or that person asking if they can help is putting their neck out there. Okay. A lot of times, many of you maybe have done this where you've, trudged across the whole entire event, or drove so far to do something and offer to help. Make sure that you let them do something. So if anybody finds something, if anybody offers to help, give them something to do. If they're not really helping too much, even if you let them, you give them a task to do, you can kind of switch it in your mind to make it an education part of it, and that is what someone's helping. You can teach them how to do what you're doing, rather than maybe them helping, so that they can take that knowledge and share it with other people. Next thing on here is just think about first impressions. This goes back to some of the stuff I already mentioned, and that is to, I try and encourage everybody to show up and do when they do things, no matter what it is. Even now it's on Zoom, but show up like you're happy to be there. You know, make sure you have that frame of mind before you show up, before you do anything. There may be someone brand new and they want to be discouraged or get the wrong impression of you if you're not thinking about what your attitude is or what your mindset is when you show up at different things. So if you have a good first impression, that goes a long way in the SCA. There's some things that you can't help, but if you could just think about that, and that's in and out of the SCA. If you make a good first impression, more than not, then you'll have a lot less issues or concerns down the line. I've had over the years, also had a lot of people who want to do, are sitting at home usually most of the time, and they are lamenting that there's nothing for them to go do. And they're kind of wondering why there's not a tournament, or wondering why there's not an event, or not really doing anything about it. So I always tell people to create opportunities. So if you are an artist and you can find someone who's running an event, or an ANIS minister, or anybody, to try and figure out how to do a showcase, to run or have someone help you run a showcase, or find someone to run a showcase. Be the person that energizes and helps create opportunities for not only you but for everybody else. So if a tournament, anybody, you can do all kinds of stuff like that, but just be out there and create opportunities for, if you have art, you want to share it, you definitely can do that now through Zoom. But once we go in person, find a way to, at an event, or one night at someone's house, or whatever it is, to create those opportunities so you can participate and have fun. So rather than waiting for someone else to do it, go ahead and create those opportunities yourself. The biggest thing, one of the biggest things that I found from people who are highly stressed in the SCA, when they're in charge of running something, is because they don't delegate enough. Like I mentioned before, any little job, or anything that anybody says that are willing to help, give them something to do. A group of people doing something and succeeding together is much more benefit, I think, than just one person doing it. And that doing it, especially in a group, spreads that positively, that learning, that everything else, a lot more. And you never know how someone could be interested in so much in what you're doing and may be able to take over from you when you're done, or those kind of things. Especially if you've ever been an officer, it's hard to find, not easy to find people to help, to take over for you. So if you delegate a lot of that out, maybe someone will see that spark or see that idea to kind of help you out. This one I came up with this to be, I worded it differently in the handout, but be a boss or a leader. You want to be a good leader. What I mean by this is that sometimes not everybody can switch back and forth between their, I used to call it civilian life, or mundane life. When you go to work and you're getting paid and you see other people that are working, that you work with, coworkers, you're all being paid to be there. So a lot of times, unfortunately, with a lot of jobs, there's a boss who's bossing you around because they know you have to be there if you want to get paid. So you're going to do what he tells you to do, and that's something sometimes you don't obviously have a choice in. You either work or you don't. But when you come to the SCA, you have to make that switch that people are volunteers, and you have to be concerned with making sure someone's happy and enjoying what they're doing as much as possible. and because you're not going to be able to, you're not, you know, should be in the line that you're going to fire them or just get rid of them. So they have that switch. So that's why I say be a leader. So if you're going to do something, show by example, work alongside people. If you're being a leader rather than just standing in the spot and just point. And there's a lot of people in the SCA that do jobs and they do a lot of things. They run, you know, they run tournaments or whatever it is, and they do a really great job because there are some people that need someone to be a boss. They need to be, you know, pointed and told exactly what to do. And that's fine too, as long as, you know, when things get done, however they get done. But more often than not, people who will show that they have more leadership and leadership qualities get help a lot without even asking. They'll automatically get a lot of help and people getting them to have, you know, help with the task at hand. So being hospitable, ever welcoming. This is kind of just a general, everybody in the SCA does or should do. So if you see someone at an event or anything, this is not necessarily asking you, you know, make sure that you become close friends with everybody that you see. But if someone, you know, offer someone a seat, if they you know, they need some place to sit down or some water, you know, if they have, most of the time, everybody has a friend or knows where they're going to an SCA event or what they're, you know, at any place that SCA people are gathering. But it's always good to offer because people will remember that, and that's kind of a nice thing to do. So always be welcoming to everybody. And like I said, all of this stuff will help you do what you want to do in the SCA a lot easier. This is another one of those that it's hard for me to try to define the best way I possibly can without being too blunt with this. It helps others avoid potentially bad situations or people. This will become obvious when anywhere inside in the SCA or any social group or at work, wherever you are at, someone will be having a bad day or be arguing or having, you know, rub something the wrong way, whatever it is. If you find the opportunity or the opportunity presents itself where someone comes up and doesn't know what's going on, gently steer them away if you can. Not order them or make them go away, or that's not what that's kind of meant. This is just kind of like something's going on. If you wanted to, say you wanted to go, you have a direction, you want to go to somewhere at an event, say, you can kind of just steer them, you know, tell them that, you know, someone over there is really not happy. So if you're looking for someone for a particular reason or for some information, you might want to try and go somewhere else. And not forcing anybody, but just to be a general courteous, kind person, just kind of avoid situations, avoid people who are just show up in events, because sometimes there are people that show up in an event and they just, whatever happened in their life or whatever's going on that day, they're for whatever reason are just taking it out on people. So this will become more evident when you're at SC event. A lot of SC events, this thing might happen. So, and I said this last time in my last class. Last time I taught this is not to be like a police officer or anything. You know, ordering people around and trying to, you know, make people, you know, disperse the crowd per se. But it's just something to keep them. You know, if it, like I said, if the situation presents itself, and you can help try and let the people who are having a bad day or having issues kind of let them be alone. I put in the handout at one point in time, it's still in there, to be, I just put be a participant. And I got a lot of questions about it. So what I think being a participant really should be defined. So I tried to define it as much as possible in the handout as much as I could. And being a participant, what I meant by that is just to dress up, show up, lend a hand, pay your dues, and more importantly, to have fun. But do it on a regular basis. Go to one of my suggestions is to just go to just attend officer meeting. And I don't mean go there to be an officer or to find a job, which usually happens when you go to those meetings, but it's just to get information. Not necessarily go there and just ask 1,000 questions, but what I mean by this is that whether it's a meeting or just being at a general event, you find out what's going on, who's in charge, who's doing what job, and if anything arises where you need help or some of your friends need help or whatever, you know the facts, you know the information that's needed. You can, and I don't, not everybody does that. You can just be happy sitting wherever you're at and just enjoying yourself, and that's perfectly fine too. But the people that I consider active participating in the SCA is I participate a lot. Even now in this past year, I participated quite a bit all over the world in every part of the SCA right now, which is just kind of crazy. But if I run into people while I'm doing that, I see who's participating, who's not just participating just in their barony, but especially when at this point in time, if you still have still good job, still healthy, and you have a computer or a way to get out, a tablet or whatever, you can literally go anywhere in the world and talk to people, not only in the SCA but anywhere. So usually in the in-person, you have to worry about money for travel, and you have to worry about where to stay, and that when we all end up starting to do that again, which costs more time, more money that we all set aside for ourselves to enjoy life. But that's what I consider participant, rather than popping in every now and again just to say a few words and then disappear again. So try to be an active participant. This is I found a very big deal, and I this is so common to me that I don't really see the importance of teaching it or talking about it until I had this class, and I realized that not everybody does this kind of thing, and not everybody has to. It's just something I've been doing in the SCA, and this is kind of helps with the focus of this particular class. Is this will help you, and it's helped me. Something my peer, my Pelican, when I became a protege, had me do, and I keep it updated ever since. So this is just an SCA resume. It's got SCA name, Monday name, membership number, expiration date, a list of any Kingdom, Royal, what awards that you received, when you received them, offices you held, events you run, classes you taught, tournaments you participated in, anything of note like largesse that you made or whatever. And I keep this updated even till today. What this is good for is that I use it for myself so that I can remember, what classes I taught when, or when I autocrat an event. Sometimes I forget those kind of things. But I have used this when me and my wife put in for prayer letter intent for Baron and Baroness. This was really handy. We gave these to the King and Queen. When I went for officer positions, I had these, and I would put these in with my letter of intent. Even when I was society in its minister, I put one of these in with my mundane or regular work resume. Sometimes I've actually found out that people are surprised to see it when I send it in, but it kind of it's a snapshot of everything that I'm doing and everything that most of the information people need. And I go back to this all the time. So it's just kind of something that I guess is pretty needed in the SCA on a lot of different levels. I've actually been asked to do a class just on this, which I haven't figured out how I could do that. But it's something good to have. If you're not, trying to figure out what the next step is on your path or in your journey to the SCA, this would be a really cool thing just to have. When I do this class in person, or what I have done in this person, I have people fill this out in class. This is kind of another, after I talked about had talked about doing an SCA resume class, or a class with that in it. Was the main thing that was kind of driving this whole class, to record and document what you're doing now, or what you have been doing right now. Like, well, if you start right now, obviously right now, or right when you started the SCA, if you have a diary or a blog that you keep updated, you'll notice over time that how certain things in your life have shifted your path in different directions, and unintentionally or intentionally, however it works out. But filling one of these kinds out in general will help you kind of just know record where you are now, and then I'll tell you what to do with it on the next slide. But so it just starts off, and it's really simple, and you can add to this, add more questions to this, or add more details to this. This is just like a general thing. But when I did this in person, I would have people make a copy of this and make multiple copies. I'll tell you in a second. So it just says what one activity would give you the most enjoyment was at an event. So if you showed up and you were a fiber person, or say a fighter of any type, and you showed up at an event and you're not 100% sure what's going to happen and who's doing what was the one thing that you'd be like, that's it. I'm going to go sit over there, or I'm going to go talk to that person because that's what interests me. But to be a little bit happier, to enjoy things more, I encourage people to widen their scope of their interests a little bit. So they have like a major, we used to call a major and a minor. What is the main thing that keeps you interested in the SCA? We also have a couple minor things that, for example, what if that one thing is not happening at an event? Well, like I mentioned before, you can create the opportunity, get people, like-minded people to sit around and talk about fiber stuff. Or what's the next thing? Maybe, helping at front gate or troll or whatever is something that maybe kind of service thing would be, helpful out. Or teaching, maybe you can come up with a class off that, top of your head, you can do something. So be ready when you go to an event, and not necessarily point out what's not there for you, but how maybe you can create something there for yourself. So, and there's going to be other people that are similar minded. So even at a tournament, there's a way to, if you're not fighting, to be able to participate or do something, adjacent to. Everything in the SCA that we learn, we should try and share that knowledge. So this is just a list of stuff that to think about if you just learned something, whether it's a Broil night or Kingdom night, sometimes or days, sometimes they'll set aside teaching kind of thing, or collegium showcases. If you want to show your art out, or show your art to someone, there's meetings, non-official meetings to get together. I've taught people how to do lucette at, after or Viking wire weaving when I was, after an event at a diner. I've been able to just teach on the fly. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If you're hoping someday that you are a peer, or you're on the path to be a peer, or even if not, I mean, that might not be your main focus. But if you are elevated, or a job, say you want a specific job in the SCA, it's good to think of these particular or goals in general, to not just how you get to the goal, but what you're going to do when you get the goal, or if you do get the goal. So there are people that have their goals. Their main goal in the SCA is to come up here, and that's it. Sometimes there are people that have done that and left. They've literally left the SCA because they completed their goal. And they do that. There's a lot of people in the SCA. There, not a lot of people. There have been quite a few that I've seen that done that. And that, for whatever reason, that's what they wanted to do. But I encourage people to think beyond it. So whether you get it or not. So just say you do accomplish your goal of being King of Shadowland or something, or warlord, or a champion of a tournament event. Instead of just saying, well, now I'm just going to do the job, have an idea of what you're going to do if and when you do get that job, whether it's a peerage, whether it's a job, whether it's a auto-crediting event, whatever it is. Once you get that position, once you get to that level, whatever your goal was, what are you going to do with it when you have it? Now that you have, with your great power now, what are you going to do with that responsibility? And I also encourage people to also have multiple plans. This just, not everybody can do this, or want to do this, but have multiple plans. So plan A is you want to get whatever job or whatever thing you want to do. Have multiple, like plan B, plan C, plan D. You'll find yourself less disappointed if you don't get that one main thing, because you have a list of multiple things that you're ready to go and do. You're not gonna be, you shouldn't be as sad. You might be, but you shouldn't be. Me and my wife have this frame of mind, and we are less stressed and less anxiety about a lot of things that we do in the SCA, because we know this is what we would like to do, but we have multiple plans. So we go like, well, that didn't work out. Okay, next, and then we go on to the next thing. So we appreciate the experience, we move on, and we do other things. So also take your time to enjoy every milestone. And I get this from the art side. There are some artisans who enter an ANS competition, they don't win their category, and they're in a slump for quite a while. And that happens. Everybody, that happens in a lot of different things. But I try and encourage or talk to those individuals if I can, and I let them know that they let them appreciate the work that they put in. So say, even from the time you thought about it to the time you wrote the documentation, till you made your piece, till you got up off the couch and you went to the event and you filled out all the paperwork and you put your piece out there and they got judged and all these things, that's a lot of work. And even if you didn't win the category or whatever it is, or whatever the judging sheets say, just appreciate all of that stuff that you did. Even if you just take time to, whether it's by yourself and or with your friends, and just not think about whether you achieved your goal or not. That might be just icing on the cake kind of thing. But just appreciate everything, all the work that you did to it, or about it, or whatever, and just enjoy that. Even if if you happen to win something or happen to get your goal, like I said, it's just make that the extra thing, that it was just like, well, I actually completed my goal, but all that work before it should also be appreciated that you did. So think about all that stuff. If you did fill out that, you do print out that previous slide, or if that's on the handout, what I suggest people do with it is they fill it out and they put it away. It's late, they have been saying this. Don't put it in your safe place, because you never find it. So put it in a place that you're going to come back to, whether it's in a in a folder that you know you're not going to throw out, or a notebook that you know you're always going to be using, or whatever it is, and then revisit that what you filled out 5 years from now, or 2 years from now, whatever it is, sometime in the future, and it will give you an idea. You'll maybe you forgot what you wrote on it, hopefully, or you'll now be reminded of, well, that was my frame of mind at the time. That was my thought at the time. You can think in small sections. So what has happened between that time and right now? What decisions you made? What what worked? What didn't work? Kind of just review and see if you're still on the same path. Are you now on a different path? So as this whole class is about, is to record that information, better define that information about the journey and the path that you're on, and how you're going about and how you're doing things. And while you're doing everything, make sure that you're, like I said multiple times before, make sure you're happy. These are just closing thoughts, so I'll try and go through these pretty quick. Study and practice being a good leader, just for the reputation you want. Encouraging to everyone. We'll work well in the group setting or on your own. Be able to go back and forth. Think on your feet when issues arise. Keeping the best interest of everyone in mind, friend or whoever it is, everybody's best interest. Keep negative thoughts to yourself. If you have a problem with somebody or an argument with somebody or something's going wrong, do all that venting in private, away from events, so that way, if that becomes a cultural norm, then every time you go to an event, you're guaranteed to have, at least a decent time, if not an amazing time. Voice your concerns, your irritations to close friends in a private setting, somewhere away from an event, preferably way away from everybody else in the SCA, so someone doesn't overhear you. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in the front of your mind, that no matter how angry you are or how upset you are, or your friend is, try and do it somewhere else. And hopefully, not everybody's going to be trying to figure out what's going on. Be in control of your reputation as much as you possibly can. Like I said, don't worry about it, stress about it, but just be aware of how people are interacting with you, and whether it's something that you need to work on if you want to improve, or just at least be aware of it, that things may or may not be adjusted to what you want to do in the SCA, depending on what people think of you and not necessarily know you. So you have to be careful of that. I tell people to be a resource. And to be able to seek out information if you don't have it. So, and for that to be a normal thing. So I try not to be the person that says I don't know and leave it at that. I usually say I don't know, but I know someone who does. And like I said, the flow of everything, the flow of information, the flow of happiness, the flow of you enjoying yourself is all part of that of knowing who's the resource. And hopefully, if you're a resource, you get to talk about the things that really you enjoy and you have a passion about. So that's a good thing to do. I am a person who's known for saying yet a lot. So, and what I mean by that is if you say, I don't know how to run an event, I don't know how to ankle weave, I don't know how to learn how to fight, I always let people know that is something that they're thinking about, and they should attempt it. If they should not just say I don't know, but to say I don't know it yet, to be able to still pursue that and know positively whether you like it or whether you don't, rather than just assuming something looks hard and you just don't want to have anything to do with it. Always try things out. And this goes back to the last one, is not to be a dead end for people, and that is what I just kind of mentioned with saying I don't know, and then two people staring at each other because one person said I don't know, and then that's it. It's kind of awkward silence. Help people out where they want to go. And be an active participant in the SCA. We were going to run up that. So I'm going to end my slideshow. At least we're going to have time. And share, stop share. Hey, there's everybody's face. And you can unmute yourselves if you want to ask a question or if you have any questions about anything I said, because like I said at the beginning of this, it's a lot of information, a lot of different things. And my hope is only about this class is that something that I said, even though, you know, I said a lot, helps you out in some way, just whether it's to think about it, or if you're ever wondering where should I go now, what should I do now, or if you're ever kind of lost in your mind of, you know, of goals or whatever you're doing, hopefully something in this class or the handout, which I'll put in again because I don't know if everybody got it. To kind of give you a better idea. So whatever goals you have in your mind or your thoughts, hopefully, or if it's just fun, just keep things in mind. So
No, I really appreciate it. I thought that was great. Lots of good stuff to think about. I took a lot of notes, so thank you.
yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
Nothing.
No, doesn't look like it.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for teaching and for sharing your handout with us. And I will get the recording posted later this week for those that I know there were a lot of people that wanted to watch that maybe didn't make it in time. So that'll help them out as well.
Yeah, definitely. And my email should be on the handout. So if you do have a question and you didn't, or you think about it later, feel free to email me and ask. I have no problem helping anybody out.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Yep. Bye, everybody. Have a good evening. Everybody that's in cold places, stay warm.
Yeah, definitely.